So yeah, thank you very much, Marcel, for this very nice moderation once again. It was really great to have you here as a moderator. And also, of course, we are now standing between you and the wine. That's always a challenge. As the last panel, very similar to the panel after lunch break, where people are, not that active. But I can promise you we make this exciting, so that you stay here. And after this 40 minutes, you really say, okay, it was good that I stayed here. And we do see a few folks here in the room, and also heard that there are still a few hundreds actually available online and still part of this online. So no dense stay in terms of information, but great that you stayed with us and are part of this discussion. So with me today are three distinguished panelists. So we have Alex here first, we have Markus, and we have Steffen. And I think before we go into the content for today, let's start with a very brief round of introduction. So maybe Alex, you wanna take a start and briefly introduce you, and maybe also how this relates to identity in particular.
Sure. So my name is Alexandre Kech. I'm the CEO of the Global LEI Foundation. So LEI stands for Legal Entity Identifier. I have a background in banking, SWIFT and standardization, the ISO 20022 standards for those who are familiar with it, and blockchain for the last 7 years. And part of blockchain and digital assets in general is digital identity and the need to identify not only individuals, but also organizations and the people acting on behalf of the organizations. And that's what we've been working at GLEIF on for the last 2 years now, is building a protocol that enables organizations to verifiably identify themselves on any digital platform, blockchain or Web2, but also the people acting on behalf of that company or that entity, or system acting on behalf of that entity, to verifiably prove they are effectively acting on behalf of that company. So avoiding fraud, impersonation, and everything else.
Thank you, Alex. My name is Markus Nasarek. I'm co-founder of Atonic, what is a small consultancy for big clients. And I have also a background in payments and banking for more than 25 years already. And the topic identity became very relevant already a couple of years ago. And so we are very deep into this topic, and also being part of the build of the German digital identity wallet. So EUDI is something what we are very familiar with, and trying to help and support this project as well.
Okay. Steffen Schwalm, I work as principal responsible for the identity and trust stuff at the MSG Security Advisors, so serving clients cross industry in this subject. Have a history of about 15 years. After 15 years, I stopped counting. Took part a bit in the development of the German EID, so if you want to protest, you also can come to me. But also take part now in the development of the UDI wallet and the different European projects, supporting clients and first projects in the subject, but also not only in identity, but always to solve the whole value chain. Yeah? It does not help if we know who the person is. At the end of the day, we need to issue or to provide also other evidences like KYC, like KYB, but also we want to sign contracts, and we may want to preserve it for the next 20 or 30 years. And this is exactly my playing field, so supporting clients in the subject, supporting trust services, wallet providers in becoming certified. We are not auditors, but we do the work before, so to prepare everybody or the client in becoming certified, and to keep the circle round or to make it complete, I support the regulative authorities in defining exactly the framework you have to comply with, or the trust services will be certified against. So I shape the European standards in the subject, and thanks for mentioning the blockchain subject. We have a trust services on blockchain now, so achieve legal trust according to EIDAS in Europe, and together with a colleague from Spain, I'm the responsible project lead for the European standard against which trust services for ledger will be certified.
Perfect, yeah. So you hear already from this introduction that we have very distinguished people here. So Steffen, who's very working at the forefront on European level. Alex also involved in a lot of the important stakeholder discussions. Markus also supporting the German wallet. But let me zoom out a little bit because we need to understand what we are talking about. And first, a comment, you see it maybe. So Johannes is not here with us today because he's actually, let's say for good reasons, not here. But we will still make the discussion very very exciting. I guess I cannot tell more, some might guess, but yeah, it was all planned, so all fine. But again, why are we talking about identity? That's a question you might ask yourself, and we heard a lot of words already, like EIDAS, EUDI, how does this relate? So what we do see is identity is now a core topic for Europe, and this means both identities for natural person like us, and also identities for legal persons, so for companies basically. So that's strategic importance for the EU, part of different initiatives, and we have actually also seen that a regulation has basically entered into force or came into effect last year in May, which is the EIDAS 2.0 regulation. So this means there is a harmonized European regulation in place that makes all the stuff we talk about tangible. So we're not talking about theoretical constructs, and you've seen the timeline in the EY presentation. This is real, and this is actually coming, I mean, before a digital euro is coming, and that's also why we brought it up, because it's just super important. So this means, again, just to mention a few times, 2026, the EU member states have to provide wallets for the end user. So 2026, which is not a lot of time anymore, obviously. And 2027, there are a lot of parties basically that have to accept this wallet into their processes. For example, banks, for example, PSPs, also marketplaces, public authorities, end of 2027, right? So also here, 2.5 years. So that's why it's so important to talk about, because there are these legal requirements, and this identity topic I think will change a lot, and we will discuss now what it will. And it really concerns everybody who's active in the banking, PSP, marketplace space, and also is related to some blockchain initiatives and to the digital euro somehow as well. So just this, to set the scene, why these folks talk about this topic of identity, just because it's coming and it basically concerns all of us. So enough of a monologue, just to set the scene. So let's really go into the subject, and let's first talk about the identity for the natural persons. So basically for the private citizens, for you and me, right? So we all know we have currently the possibility to have a physical ID if we buy things, if we open a bank account. Some people also might use, and you mentioned this, Steffen, the eID, so the digital identity that you have in most of or some of the European countries. Now the question is, like to all of you, what will change? So whenever we have this identity and it sits in a wallet, why the fuss? What changes, and maybe also what's in for the end user? So how does this help us? Which problem does it solve?
Maybe I start, because I know that Steffen knows the EID by every character, but I think the topic was really the question, why should we do this at all? Because there are already electronic identities, and the question was, can people use also their identity in another member state? How would that work? And this thing is already more than a decade old, and became something what was very important, because everything now moved into the internet, online services, and should be digital. And very soon it became also clear the identity itself is nice. Some member states already have such a thing, but the real, so to say, the power application was if they would do also more than just identify themselves. So even if it is called European Identity Wallet, the term wallet implies already there's a bit more behind than just identity. And when you look into the use cases, and that was my job now with the German Identity Wallet, what can we do with it, and how can we engage a complete ecosystem to change a little bit, becoming more digital? In Germany, this is a really good thing. But also help the people to make things a little bit more smooth, don't wait for letters and days, and make things a little bit more seamless in the process. The wallet becomes something you can put more stuff into it. So you can put, so I say credential, what means in the EIDAS, it's attestations, so something you can put into it, show to someone else and say, hey, it's my diploma, or this is my a building application, something, or this is something I need to provide evidence that that you can really trust this credential. So the wallet became something far beyond electronic identity. And so the first thing is to understand this part. The second part is the complete mechanism behind this kind of data, what is stored in the wallet, with all the security behind, so issuers, and then you can verify and you can validate what is this information, where is it coming from, and making this then, and that was a big thing in the discussion, somehow also privacy preserving, and then it becomes something useful. So combining very, very modern concepts, not everything of it is even completely fully developed and final, but making the wallet something useful in the all-today a world of a citizen, so to say. So, and then we come later to this point. So for the citizens first, I stop then there, but maybe some use cases. And we can
so basically what this means, if I kind of summarize this, one of the main goals was to harmonize this between different countries. So if I now go to Spain or something, that I can use this ID and have a standard, that is can be used, within the whole euro area. And then a lot is basically about, digitization, obviously, but also efficiency gains, just showing my phone, my ID, reveal this, then automatically, automation, something is triggered. So basically about smoothness, user experience, getting process, done in a more efficient way. Is this kind of the main use cases, or is this more?
I think this is one of the main use cases. I think EID we have since 2014. Yeah, it's called EIDAS 2 because there was an EIDAS 1. Yeah, so we had EIDAS 1 since 2014, but during EIDAS 1, the new SSI paradigm appeared. So self-sovereign identity, that the user decides to whom he gives which kind of data. So with the EID, you have to provide, in most cases, the whole data. Yeah, but if I only want to know if somebody is older than 18, it might not be necessary that I get the address. Yeah, so to combine legal trust with privacy-preserving technologies coming from the SSI, self-sovereign identity paradigm, and on the other hand, the subject or the fact of that identity is much more than only it's this person with this name and this address. Identity means also my driver license, my power of attorney, my diploma, my KYC data, for example, payment information, etc. And the idea with EIDAS 2 was to keep exactly or to meet exactly all the different variances of identity. Yes, so and I think the core advantage or added value of the OID wallet is not, okay, I have my EID now in the mobile. It's exactly that I can combine it with additional evidences like my driver license, etc. But looking at Alexandre, I think the hidden business is not the citizen. The hidden business of the OID is exactly the organization, because the EIDAS defines the member states have to provide, by the way, by 27, a wallet not only to the citizens, but to all companies. So exactly the definition, we have a unique ID for any company in Europe. And now think about identity is more than knowing that there is MSG with this address owned by family Sedlmeir. It means also KYB data. The data currently in registries like the commercial registry, like registries for sanctions, something like this. And now think about, you get those data not only as data sets, but as proven data. This is what attestation means. Somebody who attests those data as authentic. And you get those data. And now imagine which level of efficiency we could achieve for master data management, for KYB stuff, or in the industry for product passports to make supply chain evident, etc. Because I have data with a proven authenticity, and I have somebody which is liable for. This is the qualified trust service at the end of the day. So the business is not the citizen. The business is where I look a bit to Alexandre and to give the ball to him.
Do you want to take the ball?
Sure, and that's why I think the whole construct needs to be thought differently than individuals, because a business wallet needs to be an institutional grade business wallet that cannot be controlled, for example, by one single individual in the company, right? You don't want one person in a company to be in charge of representing the company because he has access to the wallet. So hence the importance of having a different approach for business wallets, that they need to be multi-signature by definition. So you need to have multiple people deciding to show an attestation or show a credential that belongs to that company. And what is important as well to mention is that companies don't act, they don't do anything. It's people acting on behalf of the company that do things. CEO signs contracts, CFO signs annual reports. It's not the company itself. So you need to have a way for that company to issue credentials to their own staff or to their own CEOs, C-levels, or even to their clients, actually, for KYC reasons, to issue attestations or credentials that they can then store in their personal wallet as individual, and not only have, I am Alexandre Kech, here is my ID, this is my passport, this is my driving license, this is my COVID certificate. That was the first verifiable credential we've seen in Europe, in the world. But this is also my business card as CEO of GLEIF. I can present it. It's linked to my company credential, very, very strictly linked to it to ensure I'm not impersonating Alexandre Kech, and I can act because of that attestation, because of that credential.
And I mean, that's super efficient, right? Because if you don't need to send out PDFs or a lot of data that you are really in charge, it's just in your phone, you know, so you authorize, done. And I think that's like kind of a game changer if you think about, you know, big corporates, about maybe also, you know, companies part of a bigger group. Like it's so painful to authorize things, and that's I think why it's really underrated what's currently, you know, happening and going on the business side. But Markus, I think you also wanted to add something.
Yeah, that was because I have two things to add. Probably the one was we already spoke about the identity or KYB or KYC data, what is possible. And I want to step a little bit aside again to look at the other features this thing has, and then also look at this from a perspective for natural persons and legal persons. So identity was one thing. We spoke also about signing off data, signature of something, but there's also authentication, and that was what Steffen mentioned, was you can authenticate a person but also data. Yes. So the data is true, and we had a very, very nice discussion just in front of the stage. That was there's more and more data-driven business models. How do I make sure that I can trust the data? And then I want to pay for data, but I should get the right data and not fake stuff. I shouldn't have from the right person who has the right to sell the data.
With AI, that's even way more important. Right?
Exactly. You have all this trouble now, and try to find solutions, and you need to automate this process and not sending a fax to the next public administration to say, yeah, I'm the owner of this IP and I own this AI model because I did something maybe, and I have the rights to use it. And if you combine all these problems, then you need some automated mechanism. That is one thing. So authentication of, and then there was another thing what was probably not mentioned yet, but was super important. There's also now, and it becomes very, very vital for payments. Now this thing is extended also to authorize something. That was not part of the protocol in the beginning at all. Steffen can probably then explain what it used to be, but there was an extension last year in November to extend the protocol by something you can show to the wallet or the wallet user or the corporate wallet, please approve or sign, and is this a payment or is this a contract preparation or something? So you can approve by someone willingness, consent, and all that stuff, and that is also part of the wallet. I just want to mention this because you can see it from a personal, natural perspective, a natural person perspective, but also from company perspective.
The way we summarize that with the VLEI, so the Verifiable Legal Entity Identifier, is it's for authentication, it's for permissioning, so please do something, and it's for digital signature. And any type of digital signature, it can be signing a transaction on blockchain as well, actually, which is permissioning and digital signature at the same. So it's all combined. Those are three major functionality of that type of technology in a way that is pretty much revolutionary because, at least in the context of VLEI, it is self-sovereign in the sense that the organization itself is in charge of except for its authorized signatories, which today requires a third-party verification, like in the real world. You go to a notary and you verify that effectively the right person, the right signature, the right company. But that's done differently on digital, but it's the same. You need to have that third-party verification. For other credentials, the company, at least in the VDI context, can issue and revoke their own credential completely autonomously, without having always to go to a third party and pay a third party for, like it happens for digital certificates, for example, today.
And I think what's worth to mention is we started the discussion with the ID wallet. Yeah, so my recommendation to you would be, if you think about the IDAS, forget the ID wallet. It sounds a bit hard, I know. Because in the marketing, you always see, okay, the ID wallet is coming. The real value of the IDAS regulation is what we call attestations. Yes, so who is allowed to act for a company? Do we have sanction information? Do we are the data really authentic, etc.? Yeah. Attestations can be issued in any system. Okay, paper would become a bit difficult, yeah, to print a signature might become complex, but as long as you speak about digital, you can use those attestations now. You don't have to wait for the ID wallet coming up in 27 and maybe in place 2028, 2030. Attestations, like mentioned, also for signing, the product passport stuff for KYB stuff, etc., can be used now. The technical framework is pretty much the same. Independently, if you have your ID in 2030, it doesn't matter. The protocols, the formats, the technical requirements, the security requirements are pretty much the same. So the clear message is, look now, what does the IDAS mean for your business? Define your strategy, define your business model, and start now. If there's the ID wallet upcoming in 3 years, just integrated, it's then another wallet you may have to, you will interact with. But waiting for the ID means to use the benefits in 2035 or never, or to have too much work in 2 or 3 years. Yeah, so long story short, EIDAS is not the ID. EIDAS is exactly attestations, signing, and a full end-to-end digitization.
Yeah, that was actually, because you mentioned it, in the time I was looking into how can OID wallets being implemented in Germany, I spoke to hundreds of companies in the last year to figure out, would they be kind of interested to start early? Do they understand what they have to do? What would be the next step? And it was super interesting because it turned out what you just mentioned. The first was, okay, the PIT, it's EID, maybe this is once a year a customer comes to me and wants to use an EID. This is not the biggest use case I ever have seen. Why should I do all the implementation to just accept EIDs? It's already working today. So why should I do this? Then the conversation continued, and then, oh yeah, that's not only identity, it's also all the other use cases possible because you have attestations. And then it turned out that more than 95% of the use cases are attestations. It was not ID at all, or not governmental-backed IDs at all. It was the other way around. The most important thing was, can I authorize something? Can I provide some attestation? Can I make an authentic data set? And then the next thing came. It turned from, oh, it's a compliance program, and I spoke to the wrong people, to the business and product people, because they said, this is super interesting. This is a business opportunity. So I had more conversations because I had to switch the teams to spoke then the next few of calls with product people. And that is what Steffen just said. It was kind of the experience to figure out, okay, this is an opportunity, this is something. But then it turned out probably, Alex, but you can continue. This is the way. I, as a company, need this as well. Because it's the same principle. It's not just for my people, for my customers. For me, it's a thing.
Yeah, maybe I can share a few of the VRDI use cases that we see. So the VRDI, as I said, is an organization self-sovereign identity and verifiable credential system that works globally. The root of trust of that system is the Global LEI Foundation, which is the foundation I'm running, which is overseen by regulators, 70 regulators from 50 countries. So it's a pretty strong root of trust. And the objective is to create a system that works everywhere, not only in Europe, not only in the US, not only in Hong Kong, across border, because identity is by definition something that you want to, that is relevant not only within one region or one country, but also around the world. And when we started the VRDI system, the first use case, very strangely, was regulators. So the European Banking Authority, which is the banking regulators here, has piloted the system to authenticate banks into their system. So I am Société Générale and not BNP Paribas, because I'm presenting my credential or attestation. And then also verifying that the person reporting to EBA was the right person in the bank, delegation of authority, through a digital signature. Very simple use case, authentication, digital signature. Other use cases in the US is about securing telecommunication, like SMSs, like phone calls, by linking phone numbers to companies. Very simple. So by authenticating that, or by the authenticity of a phone number and ensuring that it's linked to Coca-Cola or Netflix and not someone else pretending to be Netflix, and then I'm sure you're receiving those SMS every day asking you to. Yeah,
we have the use case in Europe too. It's
exactly,
pretty much the same.
Absolutely, yeah. and those use cases are being implemented in Europe. I understand that as well, and in Japan, etc. In Hong Kong and China, it's about credential issues by hospital to their doctors or to their patients to be able to operate or to be active in Hong Kong coming from China, because there's a lot of fraud of fake certificates between hospitals in China and hospitals in Hong Kong. In Japan, it's about KYC. So I do my KYC with a bank. I receive a VRDI credentials from that bank that I can present to another bank to accelerate my onboarding with that other bank. And that's the KYC use case we were talking about. So it's really, what I like to say about those type of identity and credential system is that it can really do everything that you would do in the physical world, but way more efficiently. It's verifying that you know you're dealing with, and you know why you're dealing with that person. So that's the credential part. Or an organization, of course.
But that reminds me also to one thing what was kind of also learning on my steep learning curve in this topic was, in the moment you offload personal data to some storage like a wallet or something where it belongs to the owner itself, and you ask every time you need the data, you can ask him, you can or her, you can exchange the data. You offload data out of your premises into the data owner, but because you know it's available, I can address it. That made things possible or cheaper, because from a compliance perspective, you don't have to store, to keep it, to hold it on your side. And there was a case in hospitality that they had exactly the same problem. You can't transfer just every data from one region to another because of compliance reasons. It's even forbidden. So for example, we have this problem between Europe, China, India. So send personal data on the backbone of your franchise company. It is a huge topic. If you offload the data to the guest user, guest app, whatever hotels then use, they carry it with them. If they then arrive in the hotel, they check in. There was no data sent over the backbone. It was played over the boundaries. And that made things much, much cheaper and much more easy. But you have to think that way. The data goes completely different ways now, and you have to adapt a little bit in your paradigm how you create architectures, where data flows and what data do you really need to store? Probably not. And how you interact with the data. And that was interesting to see how much money they can save to not replicate a complete SEP system in all regions just because they have backbones and have all the traffic there.
Look a bit at the time. The question might be, how does it relate to the other topics discussed in the conference? I think the most important is that the regulation on the digital euro requests the combination with the OID. So also, if you will have to use the OID in 27 for digital euro, welcome in the boat. Yeah, so
At least as an option, at least, right? So not mandatory, but as an option.
It's an option, but we all know what means option in European regulation. Yeah, you set the facts because the oily wallet will come up. Yeah, so there is the pressure at the end of the day. If you look in Article 5F of the EIDAS regulation, it defines that the banks have to accept the oily wallet in case of strong customer authentication by request of the user, because the oily is voluntary. But what does it mean if I have 31 member states of EU and EFTA providing wallets to their citizens, and you have countries like Germany who said, okay, there will be the government wallet, and I also allow private companies to provide such oily wallets certified. Yeah? So and now imagine Google, already working on the subject, certifies a wallet in Germany as oily with Google Pay. Do I have to say more concerning digital euro and other stuff? Yeah, so this is one. And the other subject, what we didn't discuss until now is, with a wallet, independently if it's oily or not, we can combine the identity with a property. This is exactly, for example, what we currently pilot in a European project. It's called Trace for Use, 30 partners led by Italy. And what we pilot there together with the European music and film industry is who owns a song. I know the owner, the identity of the owner, but I also can trade this property, because the property is manifested as a non-fungible token, which is issued in the European blockchain service infrastructure. So a European blockchain network with governmental trust anchor, because provided by the member states. So what we do, we combine identity, the ownership, which is an attestation to make it legally compliant, and we have the property manifested as a non-fungible token, which we can sell in a DRT network certified against the European standards, so I have the legal trust for the DRT network. And this, if you do it, who owns Hey Judy, or who owns a song, or who owns a house or a ship, doesn't matter at the end of the day, this is a semantic question. But what we see is that the European Commission goes the way to combine all those regulations, all those infrastructures to a coherent framework. And as GLEIF is an international organization, what I can say, the world is watching us. They look what works with EIDAS and all those stuff. What works, they will adopt. What won't work, they will make better. But we set facts. We shape the digital future not only of Europe. This is, I think, what we can say.
And I mean, I guess that's super important to link to all these initiatives, because you see it's all related. It's not a silo, right? So digital euro related to the digital identity. We also do see that even if the initial credentials are not based or issued on a blockchain, they can be used in a blockchain context, right? So they can use in the tokenized economy, whatsoever you name it, right? So I guess that's the next step in the evolution, let's say, but it's an important step, and this is how it all relates. And just looking at the watch, we have maybe time for a last 2 or 3 minutes to discuss. So
sorry, just to explain a little bit what Steffen just had part of his message is something very important. That is, in the beginning, an oily wallet was a member state has to provide an oily wallet, means governmental wallet. That is not the case anymore in this strict thing, because Germany decided last year every commercial entity can create an oily wallet. It has to be certified, but that means there are already more than a handful of applicants. They think, or currently we have to say, thinking about providing a German wallet for oily. This is even much more true for corporates, because there is not a member state provided corporate wallet that will be something what is a commercial background. So that is very important to understand. oily not anymore means, or probably never had, but it was not that clear in the beginning. But now also more and more member states decide, okay, we open this for the commercial market to provide these kind of wallets, and that turns a little bit in a completely different story now.
Yes, completely. And I mean, that really shows why this is important, why we go into this this direction. So to maybe also summarize, what I got from this discussion, because we also want to stick to our time, and I also know that some people have to leave on time. Just to mention this topic, this became clear to me as well today, is it's a topic that is really coming. It's not just for end users, it is one, but a really big part of the use cases are coming from the business world. End user, it's interesting, this privacy piece that Steffen mentioned, you don't have to always reveal your whole ID, but just specific statements or proof-specific statements. And really that one has to hurry, because 2.5 years are not so long. So with this, I would like to thank the panelists for Sedentity, for this great discussion, for being here with us, for you to follow that. And maybe a last big round of applause. And thanks so much.